What's good, family? Yo, man, we back for a special edition right now, y'all. So if you were watching the live I threw up there yesterday, I told you we did not have a Cigars and Conversations. However, that I was headed to the golf course and I was going to see my man Cigar Banker, and I was going to try to back him into a corner and be like, hey, bro, let's go out there and talk to the people about Juneteenth tomorrow. And look, y'all, he's here. Oh, yeah, he's black by popular demand. All right. And we about to talk a little bit about what's going on with this whole Juneteenth situation, y'all, here in America. But before we get started, you know what? Let me do a proper introduction. All right. It's another Cigars and Conversations with your boys from a puff a minute. I'm your man, Cigar Mick.
Cigar Banker was good, people.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Now let's get into it, family. Let's talk about what we smoking, and then let's hit the people in the head with some conversation today. What do you say?
Absolutely, bro. Absolutely. So today I had to bring that old thing back.
Okay.
So I got this nice punch, Rare Corojo, and for a long time, bro, I loved this rapper, bro.
Yes.
The Corojo rapper from Honduras. But for a long time, I thought this was Nicaraguan.
Is that right?
Before I was doing my research and I was up on my game. So I said, okay, let me do my research on it. But I love it because of the Rare Corojo rapper.
Yes.
And there's not many cigar makers that use this. It's kind of similar to the San Andreas and some of those other ones that are a little bit harder to find, harder to roll.
Right.
But man, you can't beat this cigar. Price point, flavor, the experience. Punch was one of the first cigars I started smoking because I know what I was doing. I just didn't want to spend a lot of money. I said, I'm going to go there. I'm going to get something cheap on the cheap side, but I just like the taste of it. And next thing you know, bro, one of my favorite cigars of all time.
I love it, bro. I love it, man. Yeah, you've been bringing that one back for a while, man. You started off with that one hard in the beginning. You know what I'm saying? Y'all don't believe me? Go back in the archives, man, in the early episodes of A Puff a Minute and see what this cat was smoking back then.
Yes.
You know? But yeah, man, so I'm coming out today, brother. I got that Trinidad, man. You know what I'm saying? This is a collaboration with our boy, Mr. AJ Fernandez, and also Rafael Nadal. Right, so this is there. It's a beautiful stick, man. It's got that Brazilian wrapper on it. The filler in the binder is Nicaraguan. You know, very very full body stick, man. And this is that series number 2. You know, I think they call it a Fundado or something like that. But you know, I love the Lanceros, right? But this is actually a Panatella, right? So it's like a 7 1/4 by 40 or something like that.
It's a little thicker.
Yeah, a little bit more, man. You know what I'm saying? But again, a beautiful stick, man. If you haven't gotten into the Trinidad yet, make sure y'all go out there and check them out, man. It's a great, great smoke, man. Matter of fact, I think you can even find them on Spotify. If you're listening to us on Spotify, just, you know, search on the Trinidad. You know what I'm saying? Trinidad Cigars, and they'll come up there as well. So, excuse me. So that's what's up with that. I got nothing to drink today. All right, so we good, family.
Okay.
Just small talk in the beginning, bro. Had an outstanding time yesterday, fam. You know what I'm saying? It was a lot of fun getting out there on the golf course. That was my first time getting out, man, on these new wheels and whatnot, man. I was moving like that slow dude in Mary Tyler show, you know, Mary Tyler Moore show, man. Mrs. Wiggins, you know what I'm saying? I was moving slow like that, man. But once I got over the ball, I felt pretty good. You know what I'm saying? I could still swing. I still got some swing mechanics. It's just everything in between.
But you was out there. You got to. It's almost like you got to get the oil on them things.
Exactly.
Man. What's up, man?
Exactly. You know. But yeah, that's what's up, fam. So good, bro. I mean, we can get down when you ready.
You know? Brother. I'll just say this. It was Father's Day yesterday.
Yes.
Shout out to all the fathers out there that watch us on a puff a minute. If don't nobody else show you appreciation, we gonna show you appreciation.
Real talk.
You know, Father's Day come after Arbor Day.
Exactly. Right, exactly. In the whole hierarchy. Yeah, exactly.
In the list of holidays, I saw a comedian, Ali Sadiq, talk about this, man. He was like, man, we come after Arbor Day.
That's crazy.
But that's funny. But other than that, man, it's a beautiful thing to be a father.
It is.
It's a beautiful thing to celebrate, you know, our families and our children and things we build.
Right,
I don't want to be remiss in not mentioning that because it was a beautiful day. It was good to catch up with you, man, with some of our boys. We got to get out on the course and enjoy our day and that sort of thing. But yeah, it's just a beautiful thing, man, being a father.
You know, talk about full circle moments, right? Because this is kind of how I found myself. Just when our children are young, you know what I'm saying, we do so much for them. So it makes sense, you know what I'm saying, that they would have a Mother's Day or a Father's Day or whatever, man, to show all that appreciation back to their parents. But as we get older, right? Especially, as things go in the world today, a lot of times the kids, what I'm saying, end up taking care of the parents down the road.
Yes.
And there's really not a day to show that type of gratitude back to the young people, right? Or the next generation. So as my children would call me up and they would be like, Dad, happy Father's Day, happy Father's Day, I felt compelled to say no. I said, being your father is was made me happiest in my life. You know what I'm saying? So I'm showing gratitude to them. Because honestly, man, real talk, whether we realize it or not, our children change our life. They change our trajectory in life. Yes. You know what I'm saying? I became a more aware, compassionate, individual, right, after having children than the cat that I used to be beforehand, right? You wouldn't have liked that dude. You know what I'm saying? Most people wouldn't have liked that dude. So I have my children, man, my family to thank for helping me to evolve to the point that I've become the man that I am today as well.
I would definitely agree. Definitely agree. Change the trajectory of my life for sure.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Absolutely.
But let's get into the convo though.
Let's talk about it. And so there's been a lot of, and I had a lot of conversations leading up to this week with people who were talking about the whole Juneteenth situation, right? Okay. And, is Juneteenth a good thing? Is it not a good thing? Is it something that we should celebrate or not celebrate and what have you, right? So again, I wasn't playing devil's advocate or what have you because I totally understand both sides of this conversation, right? And, personally, I mean, just to let you know, in the beginning, man, when Juneteenth was announced as a national holiday, I was probably one of the most least excited about it, right? I just was like, oh, here we go, right? So let's talk about it a little bit, and I'll tell you why my position on that was before we go any further. My position was we have been going through so much, in this country as of late. Right, with police brutality and people being killed by the police and taking away voters' rights and the whole education system and critical race theories and not being able to teach that. And it was like, okay, we're not making any real strides or any real gains, so let's just give them a holiday. Let's give them an excuse to have another barbecue and a party. You know what I'm saying? And just to appease. So I felt like the national holiday was an appeasement. Okay, at first. My position has since changed on that. You know what I'm saying? But we'll get into it and talk about it a little bit, man. But I just want to say that I understood both sides of that argument, right? So, okay, let me hear what you got, bro.
But I agree, bro, because at the same time, it feels like whenever there's all this tumultuous situations going on, they're like, here, I'm going to throw you a bone.
Right.
I'm going to throw you a bone, shut you up for a minute. Yes. And then everybody's going to be happy about it and all this stuff. And just being, very involved in the conversation here locally in the state of Nevada, making it a state holiday. Right? Because it had to be ratified by the states individually after the federal government did it. And so we just passed it in our session that it's now a state holiday. And to hear some of the questions in the conversation that went on about making it a state holiday was so wild. Like one of the big things that people started harping on is what is going to be the economic impact of these businesses having to shut down for another day.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I was like, wow. Yeah. That's what we worrying about.
That's what we worrying about.
That's what we worrying about. Not letting us get our bone right, not letting us have this little moment of celebration. Right. It's what is going to be the economic impact because we let everybody have another day off.
Why is economic impact, right? Why is that a big deal whenever it comes to doing something for the quote unquote African American community, right? We went through the same conversation about Martin Luther King's holiday, and things. Everybody's like, well, can we afford to have another day of people not going to work or businesses being shut down and all of that? But that's the economic impact. However, it was the economy, right, in the first place, which subjugated a certain people to a certain other people. Let me say it this way. A group of people who didn't want to work, right, disenfranchised another group of people so that they could not work for themselves, could not grow their own food, could not educate their children to even read, right, to keep them in. So again, and all of that was based on the economic benefit of a few, right? So now when you start talking about, the economy being an impact in celebration, right, of something that impacts that very same community that was disenfranchised, To me, that's the double standard. Just saying.
As I relight,
Yeah.
I'm gonna give you a perfect example.
Yeah.
Think of the state of Utah. The state of Utah, they have Pioneer Day. Not to get into any religion or anything like that, but they have Pioneer Day. Pioneer Day, the whole state shuts down.
Right.
Then on top of that, fly into Utah on a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah.
And tell me what businesses are open. You can't go to Macy's. You can't go to Walmart. Because I've been there, done it many times.
Sure, yeah.
You can't do nothing on a Sunday afternoon.
Got you.
Right? Maybe Burger King is open.
Right.
Maybe a McDonald's close to you is open.
Okay.
But that's a whole state shut down multiple times throughout the year, multiple periods of the year that are just shut down.
Wow.
But here we are saying we're going to get one more day.
Isn't that crazy?
One more day.
That's crazy, bro. So again, if we want to look at it like on a bigger scale, the biggest and most major holiday that we celebrate in the United States is the so-called Independence Day, right? It is Independence Day, the 4th of July, right? And we ain't got no problem with shutting down. We ain't got to, and all of those types of things. But, even that is something that is so deceiving at the end of the day, because when Thomas Jefferson was penning the Declaration of Independence, right, where he said, everyone's created with these inalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. You know what I'm saying? Or and when the so-called fight was freedom, 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 right in the very next room was his manservant, you know what I'm saying, and what have you. The first 10 presidents of the United States were slaveholders, right? So at the end of the day, man, it was so much, the double standard is so ridiculous, bro, that it made no sense. Because when 1/5 of your nation is not allowed to be free, then how are you fighting for independence? How are you calling this an Independence Day? That was something that I struggled with as a young person, growing up, because, what is the 4th of July? We always call it the 4th of July. We didn't call it Independence Day. But once I realized that it was supposedly, we were celebrating the independence of the United States, which later became like the greatest, progenitor of not just slavery, I mean chattel slavery. Chattel slavery, where your children are born into captivity. That had never been done before anywhere in the world, right? That was invented right here in the United States. So and to the point where, I know I'm going on a tangent, but I don't even care right now. I'm gonna go off on this tangent, man. If you ever follow like genealogy studies, like even in the Bible, it's like, and so and so begat so and so and so. They always followed the line of the father, right? Even throughout, English tradition and stuff like that, it was always the line of the father. William and Prince William, Prince whatever name, the other brother, Andrew, I don't know what his name is. I don't follow those people. But they are considered royalty because their father was considered royalty, not because of Diana. You understand what I'm saying? You follow me? But when it came to the people who were brought to this continent and changed, they reversed that. All right. And it became more matriarchal, so that they said, if your mother was a slave, then you are a slave. See what I'm saying? And why would you do that? Let's go back to economy, because this basically incentivized the captors, right, to go out and rape these women and have more children and create more wealth.
And not just that, but to separate the families, right?
Exactly.
That was the other side.
Exactly.
It was they turned us into breeders, right? So the biggest, the strongest slave on the plantation became a breeder.
Exactly.
And they would move him from plantation to plantation to plantation. And he was making babies all over the place.
Exactly.
And it destroyed whatever we would have called a family.
The whole construct.
A family construct.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
And another thing I'll tell you about, one of the things I noticed about like things like the 4th of July or Independence Day, they tie them around these words, right? You start talking patriotism. You start talking loyalty. You start talking these different words, right, that come to just elevate it to a whole nother standard that it's hard for you to argue with, what have you. We haven't seen that same effect with holidays like Martin Luther King Day. And I don't know if we will with Juneteenth, because I don't know if you like me, but in your days of corporate world, right, how many times did you have to remind people why they got Monday off? I know I have to remind people all the time.
Absolutely.
Why is Monday a holiday?
Exactly.
And they really be sitting there thinking like, oh yeah, we got Monday off.
Right.
Not thinking of the concept of it. And you know, shouts out to President Obama, his wife Michelle, and the family when they started going back to Selma and doing the walk across the bridge and all that. It brought a more highlight to it.
Yeah.
But we still remember Arizona was the last state to ratify it as a holiday, right? We still remember that there's people that don't remember it's a holiday.
Yes.
And I feel like we're gonna end up going through the same experience with June 19th, and it's even worse because when Martin Luther King became a holiday and they started it became a federal holiday, it was a different experience than June 19th. June 19th really felt like, oh, George Floyd, oh, you know, Tamir Rice, oh, this happened, nope, we're gonna give them a holiday. We're gonna give them a holiday so that way maybe it calms some of the tension.
Right. And regardless of the intent, right now, regardless of the intent behind them making this a holiday in the first place, right? Because again, I do believe there was a lot of that appeasement that was there. The reason why my position on it changed is because, as I was saying earlier, you know, when you think about the rhetoric, right, behind Independence Day, right, and being free and, you know, and all of those types of things, and to celebrate this so-called independence from England when you still have 1/5 of the country that's in chains, right? Everybody in America wasn't free. The Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, I should say, did not think about the African Americans, did not think about the indigenous people that were here or anything like that, right? So honestly, you know, even though the Emancipation Proclamation, you know, was signed in, I think it was 1863, I'm not sure, or 1865, whatever, when it was signed, so to speak, right, on that January 1st, that was the first time when America was considered to be all free. Everybody, right? That was, you know, that was America that lived here and what was considered free. And even though the word didn't get out to, you know, those western states or down in Texas until that June 19th, which was, you know, much later after the fact, most of it was because the slaveholders didn't want the slaves to know they were free because they wanted them to bring the crops in first, right? So, and they didn't want them to leave before the crops came in. But at the end of the day, even though it came late, that announcement came late to those people, it was the first time, okay, in this country, right, where you can actually live up to the creed, right, that all men are created equal, and it did not make sense for any one man to own another, right, to own another people. So that's why I say, yeah, that is actually the true Independence Day, right? And that's why my position changed. That's the true Independence Day of America as a whole, and not just a portion of the country, right? If I had, you know, my way of thinking now, you would celebrate Juneteenth before you celebrated the 4th of July, right? Again, if you're trying to sell it as an Independence Day, right? Again, man, I follow. I mean, I used to struggle, like, you know, even like, you know, Frederick Douglass, right? When he wrote, like, what does, you know, the Independence Day mean to the you know, the black in America and all of this. It was basically just, man, I can't even think of the word that I want to say right now, but it was just, you know, it was just falsehood, right? It was a joke, you know, because again, why are we celebrating this, you know, and, you know, it doesn't even apply to us.
And that's what he was saying in a very intellectual way. It was like, what does Independence Day mean to the black man? He was going into that conversation is, how can I say I'm independent, or I have my independence, and I'm a slave, and I'm still a slave. And you know, so you go into conversations like that. But you absolutely right, man. I'm like, you know, that whole Texarkana region that finally got notified that they were free. And what was crazy about the whole situation to me is, even when they got notified, one, they didn't believe it, and two, some of the ones that even believed it said, I'm still gonna stay here. They said, I'll stay in slavery because I don't know what to do. You just sending me into the world as a baby. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to pay taxes. I don't know how to buy property. What am I supposed to do? And then, you know, we go to the whole sharecropper thing and all that happened later on. But at the same time, it was like, it was those two sides of it.
Again, the system was set up, right, for their failure to begin with, right? So at the end of the day, there was a lot of things that had taken place. Even when you come and get into vagrancy laws and all of those types of things that were brought about in order to keep people. Even our legal system today is a form of continuing the slavery because again, that 16th Amendment was basically unless you've been 13th. I'm sorry, thank you for the correction. The 13th Amendment is you free unless you've been convicted of a crime, right? So at the end of the day, all of a sudden, what I'm saying, we became the target of every criminal investigation for those nefarious reasons, so to speak. But I mean, that's going deeper. I mean, we can't do a whole deep dive Black history study or this ain't the 1619 project, which I recommend to everybody. But most of us won't go in there and watch that or listen to it or read the book or anything like that, because education, it comes at a cost. Because once you receive education, it comes with responsibility. You know what I'm saying? But I would highly recommend the 1619 project for anybody who really wants to know the truth, all right, about how this country was built. But I love the hashtags I'm seeing right now for the day. Black history is American history. I'm loving that, you know what I'm saying, around Juneteenth and things of that nature. And I feel like, please celebrate. You know when it actually came home for me, bro? I'm from northern New Jersey, right? Never heard of Juneteenth. Never heard of it. You see what I'm saying? Never heard of it growing up or anything like that. It was never even in my purview. Moved to the West Coast and, started hearing a little bit about it here and there and stuff like that. Still didn't really understand the concept behind it. Recently, because I'm a weird person and I do strange things, so I started researching and I was just looking through some slave narratives. Right? The slave narratives, the library kind of went around interviewing people right after slavery, trying to get their thoughts on it and stuff like that. Well, I came across one, and what really blew me away was the person's last name was Mickens, right? Don't ask me if I'm a fan of it. Mickens is like one of the rarest names in the United States, right? On a scale of popularity, man, from like 1 to, 10,000, right, or whatever the case is, it's like 6,733, right? So it's a very, very rare name. So when I saw that, but the whole story was about how this person was, had lived through the whole Juneteenth and whatnot, and had not known that they were free and so on and so forth. And then I found a news article in a Maryland newspaper years later, and it was about another gentleman whose last name was Mickens, right? So here's two people who had to go through the whole Juneteenth experience in their families as young people, so to speak, and they share my last name. So that brought it a little bit closer to home for me. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, wow, I don't know if they're family or not, but I was like, just reading those stories really brought it home for me and stuff like that. So I feel like at the end of the day, we really need to respect and understand this. Today, most young people don't want to think about, right, or deal with anything that has to do with the past when you're talking slavery. They don't want to watch, and I get it, man, because again, sometimes people feel like that's to keep us in the mentality, always reminding us of this and always reminding us of that and so on and so forth. But I also do feel that it's important to have the knowledge, right, but to escape the behaviors, right, to escape the, to also strive for more. Like if you know where you came from, then it's important that you can navigate to where you want to get to, so to speak, right? So I feel like that's a very important conversation. We need to know the history. We don't have to live there, right? But we need to know that history.
And that's why I brought up Father's Day, man, because they tried to destroy the Black family construct. They tried to destroy it, man. And when you see beautiful families like yours, right, the Mickens, the Graves, whatever, you see these families, like there are families out here with a beautiful family construct, struggling, striving every day to make that family construct work.
Exactly.
And there's dudes out here like us that's trying to do what we got to do in our household so that we can perpetuate it, right?
Exactly.
It doesn't become something that ends with us.
Yeah.
I got daughters, you got son too, right? But at the same time, we don't want it to end with us.
Exactly.
We want to see them have beautiful families. I'm so glad to see your family, man. You can say you got that going on, right?
Yeah.
And I hope my daughters get there and they find husbands and what have you that can perpetuate that. We can't let it end with us at all.
Agreed,
at
bro.
all, man.
100%. Agree 100%, man. It's extremely important that we continue. my wife. Well, I just put my wife on the spot. I was gonna say somebody asked me, but now I already put it out there, right? Like, what is the goal? With doing the podcast, the Puff a Minute, because not really doing it for monetization perspective, and it's this, that, and the other thing. But at the end of the day, I had my sister on last week. Right, Mika was on last week with us, and Mika said something about, as our parents are getting older, she's like, I really wish somebody would go back and just record them, right, and get their history and record them and so on and so forth. I remember saying that about my father and my mom, right, and even my grandparents, right, as they were coming of age, their latter years. This is the legacy, man. My grandchildren, my great-grandchildren will be able to go back, man, and watch these old episodes and be like, Papa was a G, yo.
It's so funny you say that, because me and Brittany, my wife Brittany, was having this same conversation like a couple of days ago. I'm sharing stories with her about my grandmother growing up in Memphis, how she got to Wisconsin, how she got to Vegas, and she just like, wow, Jared, like, you should sit down and just record her one day. And I was like, I should, because my grandmother's a character, but my grandfather the same way.
Exactly.
Grandfather, these stories that we hear them, and I know I internalize them because I act so much like my grandparents, but I internalize. But most people don't internalize this message, right? It takes time for it to penetrate their spirit, their soul, and where they can take it in internally. But I'm like, man, the stuff that's coming out right now, we talk about naturally, is so important to the world.
I agree.
It's so important. And like me being the economist dude and all that, I would love for us to start celebrating things like Rosewood, Black Wall Street.
Exactly.
If we could start celebrating those kind of things as well. It's so many different opportunities, but those are stories that don't get shared.
You're right.
You think about Black, I don't even want to get too deep into it, but when they destroyed Black Wall Street, right, they tried to kill everybody that remembered the story.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
It was like, you ain't even gonna talk about it.
The crazy thing about it is, man, there were multiple Black Wall Streets. See what I'm saying?
Yes.
There were multiple ones that all met the same fate, right? But luckily, we did preserve some of the story from Tulsa. Right. You know what I'm saying? So that we can get into it and talk about it today. But that was not an isolated incident.
No.
At all. So
a Puff a Minute hopefully will not be an isolated incident.
Thank you.
We're gonna use that quotable right there.
There you go. There you go, bro. Hey man, look, bro, I'm glad, man. I know it's a holiday, you know what I'm saying, for most of us. I know you still got work to do because that's what you do. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I was just glad I got to drag you out for a minute.
I want to mention this though, man. Like you said, I got a lot of competing interests in my life, right? Family, chamber work, jobs, all this stuff, right? But at the end of the day, I always try to make time for a Puff Minute when I can.
Yes, sir.
And I tell my boy all the time, man, I just can't make it today. I can't make it today. But you know what? When we do get together and we get to vibe, we get to have these conversations, it's so valuable, not just to me, but I think the people that tap in with us as well. I agree, brother. It's so important. So I'm just glad we get time to do this and get an opportunity to do it. We know we ain't getting rich off of this. We ain't even getting coffee off of this.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So, but at the same time, it's just a beautiful thing when we get to vibe with each other,
right? Because again, today's focus is Juneteenth, right? So right here at Tapping Ash, they're having a special on all the the black-owned cigar brands and things like that. Just however you celebrate. I don't want this day to become like a commercialized holiday like most of them. You know what I'm saying? You think President's Day, we got sale on sheets. You know what I'm saying? We got sale on this. And sometimes it becomes like, think about Christmas and all of that. It becomes more about, the commercialism than it does the holiday. Some years ago, there was a concerted effort to make, the Martin Luther King holiday a day of service, right? I think we should find a theme around Juneteenth that we actually focus on history. You know what I'm saying? We should focus on history and acknowledge the the sacrifices, right, of our ancestors that helped us to get to the place where we are today, which is not the end, right, but continuing that struggle, so that our next generations can take this even further.
Absolutely. So, I'm going to shout out a local organization. Our local NAACP chapter is doing big things. They actually had a Father's Day celebration yesterday. Unfortunately, didn't make it. We was golfing and whatnot, but that being said, they have been one of the leaders of making sure that Juneteenth does become a day of service, and that we recognize it as a day of service, and how to bring the community together. And I'll also say this: growing up here in Vegas, I've known about Juneteenth since I was a little boy. We had Juneteenth parades, we had Juneteenth celebrations. So I'll say Vegas has done a great job with that. But at the same time, like you said, it shouldn't be another barbecue and picnic day. It should be another day of service, and making sure we bring the community together and start solving issues, whether it's social, economic, whatever that looks like. We turn it into a day of bringing those resources together, and not just saying we're gonna barbecue and chill out.
Thank you. You said it best right there, bro. Bringing the community together. I love it, man. I love it. Take us out, baby.
I ain't done this in a few weeks. I do it
and they don't like when I do it. I be like, we just see y'all. You know what I'm saying? Like,
no, absolutely. We appreciate y'all tapping in with us on the live. Man, the folks that I shouted out earlier, thank you so much. We know it's Monday, it's a holiday. Y'all decided to tap in with us and hear the conversation. This is what it is. It's the conversation, right?
Yes, sir.
So that's what we came out for. We appreciate you doing that. Like Mick was saying, please go over to YouTube. Make sure to tap into the library. The library of everything we've been doing for years now is up on YouTube. Go tap in. Make sure to click the bell link so you get the notifications whenever we post something new. And like Mick said, Spotify, Pandora, all your podcast platforms. We're on all those platforms as well. So you can tap in with us while you're in the gym, you're in the car. You can listen in, tune in with us at the same time. And please give us feedback. Like, we love the conversation. Like, if you ain't like what we was talking about today, or we got too deep on you, or we deviated in some way, please let us know. We want to hear that feedback as well. So that's all love, man. Thank you again.
Thanks a lot, y'all. Appreciate it. The Banker, ladies and gentlemen. Cigar Banker is in the building, y'all. Hey, yo, one more time, y'all. It's been another Cigars and Conversations with your boys from A Puff a Minute. I'm your man, Cigar Mick.
Cigar Banker, people.
And we'll see you on the next one. Until the next time, in the words of Nelson Mandela, Amandla Nguetu, y'all. Black, red, green, and gold. That's it. All right, we out. Peace.
Peace.